tape in. England win the rugby or something. This is really annoying. Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am here to confess my 2019 new releases sins. These are all books that came out this year that I was super excited for, super pumped for, highly anticipated releases that I have not read yet. So it is the 26th of October when I am filming this. We are getting real close to the end of the year, and I haven't read these books yet. And there are ones that have definitely been on my radar for ages. I pre-ordered most of these books, actually. And yeah, I don't really know what happened here. Actually, that's a lie. I know exactly what happened with a lot of these. So the majority of these books are young adult fantasy. And I have mentioned in a few videos recently that I have been really struggling with YA fantasy, probably since the spring. I've read a couple of things here and there, but for some reason, it's just not really clicking with me. I've tried to pick up a couple of books that I know I will like and that I know objectively are good books, but for some reason I just cannot get into them. A couple of these are qualifying for that. I don't know. I am hoping that this YA fantasy slump goes away soon because it means that I will get around to these, but there are a couple of adult books in here as well, so I don't really have an excuse for those. So I have 7 books here. This is not the extent of my new releases that I haven't read yet. I picked ones that were a little bit older. I think the most recent one came out in July. So yeah, I've had these for long enough that I should have read them by now, and I haven't. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dive right in. Going in no particular order, this first one actually kind of inspired this list because I desperately want to read it, but I've given it a couple of tries and my brain just can't quite get there. This is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. This book came out in the spring of this year and was a huge deal, and I was so excited, so pumped to read this book. I was so excited when my copy came through, my pre-order came through, and it's basically sat on the shelf ever since. I even have one of the accidental misprint copies, just totally by accident. So like, this is kind of a really awesome book, and I haven't read it yet. And I just, it's got this like, I know why I haven't read this one yet. It's got this really lovely like writing style. It's not lyrical and it's not like literary, but it's just has a sort of almost like, I said not lyrical, but kind of lyrical fairy tale feeling to it. And I think that my brain has just not been there for that yet. I do still really want to read this book. It looks really great. It has what I know is a problematic trope often, but one of my favorite tropes, which is a girl dressing as a boy and, you know, hunting and feeding her family and her people, which is awesome. And it's got presumably an enemies to lovers romance in it as well. I'll link this down below so you can go ahead and check it out. I really like the author. She seems lovely. I know the second book has been announced. There's a title. I can't remember what it's called. Something about stars. And I just really want to read this, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm hoping to kick this YA fantasy thing because this is really high on my list of priorities when I am finally back in the mood to read YA fantasy. I'll get there eventually. Right around the same time as We Hunt the Flame, we also had The Candle in the Flame by Nafisa Assad. This looks amazing. I'm so excited to read this at some point. It looks like a really, really fantastic book. First of all, I really like this cover. That's initially what caught my eye when this popped up on Twitter probably last year. And this is another pre-order for me, and it's a book that I think I'm really going to enjoy because I think it's very heavily influenced by history. So it takes place in a city on the Silk Road, in a city that's been, I think, attacked by Jinn or Genie, and the main character is one of the few survivors. And I know it has a lot of like language and culture and kind of like the mixing of languages and cultures in this book. I'm really pumped to read it. I actually haven't heard of a lot of people having read this, although there was some excitement for this when it did come out. So this is one I'm really looking forward to. Again, YA fantasy, so that might be part of the struggle. The next book is another pre-order, and one that had a ton of hype. And I think one of the reasons that I have not read this yet is because I didn't get it early enough to do the thing that I usually try to do with overhyped books, where I try to avoid the hype and read it really early. I ended up getting this a little bit later. I think my pre-order got stuck or something like that. And then reviews started coming through, and people said they were really disappointed in this one. They said that it sounded a lot better than it actually was. It wasn't executed as well as they had hoped. I'm still interested in reading it, but that's probably part of the reason why I haven't picked this up yet. This is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This is, I believe, a medieval-inspired YA fantasy, and it is quite dark. It's got these kind of ruthless gods, it's got blood magic in it, it's apparently got a lot of very Grisha-verse type themes in it, including a character who's basically the Darkling, because the author's like the biggest Grisha fan ever. And I wasn't a huge fan of the Grishaverse. I love Six of Crows and I love Crooked Kingdom, but I really did not enjoy the Grisha trilogy. I think I DNF'd it in the middle of the second book. So some of that stuff makes me a little bit nervous to read this one. I do want to read it and want to form my own opinion, because it could be one of those ones that just surprises me. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. Another YA fantasy, so I probably won't get to this anytime soon because the other ones are definitely higher on the list of priorities than this one. Taking a short break from YA fantasy, I have a witchy book, which I am so excited to read. I might actually pick this up for sort of November reading if I can fit it in. I am very curious about The Furies by Katie Lowe. This takes place in the 90s and it follows, I believe, a young woman who was a teenager at the time. One of her friend group is killed. Basically, a girl from the school is found dead of no apparent reason on a swing on school grounds. Our first-person narrator knows what happens. They were friends, and something really weird is going on. So I think part of this is, are they witchy? Are they not witchy? Is it just like a really creepy group of girls? Is there something else going on here? This sounds really great. This sounds like something I will absolutely love. I think of all the books on this list, this is probably the one that I'm going to pick up soonest, partially because of the witchy vibe of October and November. The other adult book on this list is the only sci-fi book on this list, and the reason I haven't picked this up yet is because it's just real long, real long, and I was kind of saving it maybe for January, I think, when I feel a lot less pressure to be reading as many books as humanly possible. So this is Wanderers by Chuck Wendig. It's a huge book. I feel like it doesn't look as big on camera as it is, but it's like a solid 700, 800 pages long, and it is meant to be fantastic. I don't really know a huge amount about this because it is a post-apocalyptic type sci-fi book that has, to me, some sort of shades of The Stand by Stephen King, which is a book that I really love. I know that it has this kind of sleepwalking sickness that has sort of swept over America, and it just looks really good. It looks really, really good. But it's so long, and I have no fear of long books. I really love long books, but there's something about this particular time of year where I feel like I am cramming in as many, oh my goodness, I almost dropped stuff. I am cramming in as many shorter books as I can, and I just don't know if I have the time to spend probably at least a couple of weeks, if not a full month, on this book. So we will see. I will definitely read this. Maybe I'll bring it home for Christmas because I'll be like stationary, I won't have to carry it around. We'll see. Looping back to YA fantasy, I have Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron. This is a proof copy that my friend Judith is lending to me. And this book has been on 3 TBRs now, I think? Something like that. It's been a lot of TBRs, but again, it's YA fantasy, so I have picked it up and I've just not been able to get into it. It's not the book's fault, it's not the story's fault, the author's fault, anything like that. It's my brain right now. But this looks really, really good. I know a lot of people are really enjoying this book. I feel like it's gonna be something that I really love. It is a, I believe it's a West African inspired fantasy, and the main character comes from a line of witch doctors. However, she does not have any magic and she is desperate to find some way to gain magic, and that sounds great to me. I think this is really dark. I actually thought that this was an adult book initially because it did sound so dark, so I'm very excited to read this. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this, but I really, really, really want to, and it's a debut, so I definitely want to support the author as well. Last book that I have to show you is another one that just for whatever reason has sat on the shelf. I was so excited to get my pre-order in. I did like my little happy dance when I opened up the package and it was this book, and for some reason my brain has just not allowed me to read this yet. So it's one that I'm really excited for. It goes right on top of the pile of books that I'm very, very, very much looking forward to, but I haven't had the chance to read yet. This is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This is, I believe, very loosely Mulan inspired, although everyone says that books with East Asian characters who dress up as boys, female characters who dress as boys, are Mulan inspired. So I don't know if it's actually heavily inspired by Mulan, but it's a book about tailors, and that sounds awesome. I love like tailors in fantasy games and stuff like that. I'm always a tailor. So this was very, very appealing to me, and it sounded like just such a nice, different take on YA fantasy, because I think this character is maybe a little bit kind of more of the quieter type of YA heroine rather than someone who's like, you know, kicking down doors and brandishing swords and stuff. So this is one that I really want to read. It's lovely, it's gorgeous. I think part of the problem is it's been sitting on the top shelf of my bookshelves, which I can't actually reach. I'm not that short, but I still can't quite reach them. So I think that's been part of the problem. So I might pull this down onto my nightstand to see if maybe my brain clicks with it a little bit more and I pick it up sooner. So those are 7 2019 releases that I was so super excited to read and haven't gotten to yet. I'm hoping that at some point very soon I will read them. I don't know when that's gonna be, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe they will be ones for early 2020. I don't know. In the comments below, I would love to know if you are also lagging behind on your 2019 reading. If you have read any of these books, if they're in your TBR, definitely let me know. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.